So let's talk about the first-time home buyers here in Virginia. There's one particular program I wanted to discuss, and that is the Virginia Housing Authority Development Program.
Yes.
Can you tell us about that?
I sure can. Thanks for asking. It's a great program. In fact, my wife and I bought our very first house using that program, and it was the very first VHDA loan that the company I was with at the time performed.
Oh, wow.
So I have a fondness for that loan program.
Okay.
It's specific to Virginia, Patrick, and is designed for first-time home buyers primarily.
Okay.
And the money is raised by this organization called VHDA, Virginia Housing Development Authority, by selling bonds out on the market. And these bonds are tax-free, so the investors in the bonds pay no income taxes on their earnings, and therefore this organization can reinvest those bonds in Virginia in housing, and they can do it with some unique products and sometimes some special rates. So it's a wonderful program where a borrower could get either an FHA loan, a Federal Housing Administration loan, with as little as 3.5% down, a Veterans Administration loan with 0 down, a rural housing program with 0 down, or even a conventional loan with as little as 3% down, Patrick.
That's great.
It is a great program.
Yep. So are there grants with this program?
There are, and I mentioned those down payment requirements. However, in the same breath, I should talk about those grants. VHDA offers grants that help essentially reduce that down payment. So on an FHA loan, one could get a grant to perhaps get up to 2.5% of the purchase price, so they could come to closing with as little as 1% out of pocket for the down payment. And on the conventional side, there's a 2% grant available. So again, if they're putting 3% down, 2% grant matches up with only 1% needed. Now there are some income limits, Patrick, on these programs. So the borrowers, it's essentially household income. Borrowers must be equal to or below these household income limits. And the grant program actually has a little bit of a lower income limit. So it varies depending on the county and the family size.
Okay. If you're living, I think, like Fairfax County, pretty expensive county.
Yes.
A person can make probably more than $90,000 and still qualify for this?
Absolutely. Actually, it's like $125,000 for a family of 2 or more. It's a significant number, so not to be concerned if you're making substantial income. It's still possible to qualify for these grants, and that's true in Fredericksburg, Spotsylvania, and Stafford as well.
Wow, you can make $125,000
Yes,
and get a grant from the government.
I apologize. You can get $125,000 without the grant. When you go to the grant program, it drops about $100,000 on the income fees.
$25,000. I'll take it. That's pretty good.
It is
so
good.
A lot more people qualify. So what are the credit scores that you probably need to have in this program?
Right. Typically 620 to qualify for one of the loan programs. And then if you're doing a grant or we didn't talk about it, but I could mention a second mortgage as well.
Right, okay.
VHDA offers a second mortgage product. Typically a 660 credit score is needed to qualify for the second mortgages. So in addition to this grant, one can get if they don't want to do the grant, they could get a second mortgage for the down payment, so 3.5% down, even up to 5% on the second mortgage. So to make it simple, if you're buying a $100,000 home and you're putting 3% down, you're borrowing $97,000, you could get a grant for, a second mortgage for the extra 3%, and, so you're borrowing 100%, or you could get a grant for 4.5% on that product, and use that extra 1.5% toward closing cost.
So on that second mortgage, it's going to be a very small payment pretty much.
It is, exactly right. It's still a 30-year fixed rate. The balance is typically low, so the additional payment is minimal.
Wow. So on $3,000, you're talking what?
$15
Wow.
maybe.
Yeah, you can't beat that.
$3,000
On a
loan.
second mortgage, you can get everything. That's phenomenal.
Yes.
That's something we definitely want our viewers to hear and know, that these programs are available if they meet the criteria you just spoke of.
Exactly right. And this program is really designed to help stimulate home ownership in Virginia. It's a wonderful loan program.
Okay. So 2 more questions I have here. So I guess different states, right now we're talking about Virginia.
We are.
You said North Carolina may have one
They
similar
do.
to that as well, and other states may have that as well. They need to talk to their local person.
They do. If someone is listening to our conversation and they're in a state other than Virginia, I would recommend they talk with a local mortgage banker. Typically the state's bond programs, as they're known as, will work with approved originating lenders. So in Virginia, lenders are vetted by VHDA and approved, and then they are eligible to essentially lend these dollars, and same thing in other states as well.
Okay. And the last thing is you're also qualified in other states as well, not just Virginia.
Yes.
Well, this program, yes, but for loans and financing, you can do different states.
I can. This program, you're right, no, this is a Virginia-only product, and if it's a bond program in a different state, the customer would want to talk with someone in that state. But the company I work for, yes, we're licensed in all 50 states.
Very nice, very nice.
Yes.
Well, Jim, thank you very much for your
You're welcome,
time. Your
Patrick.
information has been just a wealth of information. We really appreciate that.
Sure, thank you very much.
You're
Good to be with you.
You too.
Thank you.